Story 1. I have a prescription for pain medication for an incurable degenerative neuromuscular disease I was born with, which will progressively worsen for the rest of my life. I am prescribed to take it 3 times a day, but my insurance company decided that once a day was sufficient, contrary to my neurologist's recommendation at Duke University Medical Center. They only cover 1 dose a day, which costs $48 out of pocket from the pharmacy. I calculated the expenses and seriously considered alternative options. Story 2. Realizing I was always the one forgiving, excusing, and fixing things for people who would never have done the same for me, I had to remind myself who I am before I snapped. Story 3. The doctor informed me that I had 15 minutes before they would come to take my mother off life support. My aunt, whom I hadn't seen or spoken to in 10 years, thought that this was the perfect time to lecture me about having my grandmother's ashes and that she wanted them back. I had never felt such hatred and rage toward someone. I hadn't slept in 2 days, and I was genuinely scared of myself. I feared that I might lose control and start destroying everything or even attack my aunt. Story 4. A few years in prison. I had some interesting offers on the table when I got out and could have gone either way. Story 5. When I was 18, I rescued a 12-year-old girl from a party where she had been drugged and assaulted by 3 young men aged 17 to 18. I nearly got arrested for my actions and then watched the 3 individuals walk out of court. My contempt for the legal system only grew at that point. Story 6. A woman was screaming at me because I recommended that a mentally disabled girl should not pick up a rabbit. The girl had just demonstrated with a cat that she could not understand how to handle animals gently and in a nonviolent manner. Story 7. My former boss fired me for fabricated reasons. Then she lied about those reasons to our board and tried to prevent me from receiving unemployment benefits. She was also caught lying about me in a job reference request. There were many times I forgave her, and even more times she proved she was undeserving of my pity. I never retaliated, but I maintained my integrity. This isn't one of those stories with 2 villains. No one won, but there is a loser. I feel bitter, but I'm healing. Some new supervisors I've had along the way have shown me what effective leadership looks like. Story 8. Nobody believed I was being abused, not even mandatory reporters. They all believed my abuser could do no wrong and bought into his facade of being a good Christian man. They thought I was a horrible, spoiled brat and that I deserved to be punished because I was ungodly. Story 9. One time, my ex completely ghosted me after promising we would work things out. I was so close to keying his car, but I just played a breakup song instead. Story 10. I experienced sexual assault and was forced to leave school because others called me a liar and treated me poorly. I never got to attend prom or walk across the stage. Story 11. Being raised by a sociopath who tortured small children and hurt small animals is a troubling experience. A therapist later pointed out that this is a common backstory for serial killers. Thankfully, I chose kindness over insanity. Also, I find that using humor and relaxation methods helps. Story 12. Oh God. I'm starting now, and I don't mean it. Every day that goes by, I find something else to dislike. I guess I let life truly get to me. I used to be loving and caring, but now I don't know how to explain it legally. Let's just say I'm the total opposite now. If someone argues with me, I used to just walk away, but not anymore. I lose my temper. But yes, I am not going to get better. Depression and poverty are causing this, and I am not going to be able to realistically get back on track. So I'm just going to enjoy the short days as best I can and not crash out. There comes a time in life when you accept defeat, and I have to do it sooner rather than later. Story 13. Discovering that my significant other of over a decade was unfaithful, leaving that relationship, and suffering a concussion while being assaulted by someone I had known since high school. All occurred within a span of about 3 months. I went through a severe mental breakdown for at least 6 months after all of that, and I am astonished that I did not harm anyone during that time. Story 14. I watched a video about a man who confessed that he committed crimes when he was a child so someone could take him out of his household because his uncle was sexually abusing him. When he grew up, he committed another crime that led to his imprisonment, hoping to escape his uncle. Unfortunately, he was still abused by 6 cellmates. This situation made him a villain, as he continued to commit crimes, and it really broke my heart. Story 15. Working as a line locator, I showed up for work at dawn and left after sunset, working about 12 to 14 hours a day with a 1.5 hour commute. I was constantly on my feet and moving until they bled every day. People would come to the street where I parked my work vehicle to tell me I couldn't park there, even though I could and often had to, or to ask what I was doing, or even to threaten me. I rarely took breaks, maybe 10 minutes here or there. One day, a contractor approached me in a cheerful voice and asked, "Hey, I install fences and call locates all the time. Would it be helpful for me to call in 4 tickets for all the surrounding houses too?" I responded, "Yes, actually that would help me a lot to reach my quota." Then he accused me of being a lazy person, suggesting I just wanted to sit at a restaurant for longer. I stopped paying attention to what he was yelling and reflected on how unappreciative everyone was of my efforts. After that, I no longer cared. Story 16. Still becoming the villain. I became social at 27. Once I gained a comfort with myself that I had never experienced before. People started spreading rumors about me because I had changed. This eventually led to complete social upheaval when a convicted rapist spread a rumor that everyone used to denounce my existence. The level of betrayal I experienced during that time was overwhelming. My mind was already in a weakened state, and that contributed to my worst downfall yet. The only thing I had to keep myself centered was a delusion. Story 17. It's quite basic, to be honest. I realized that all my supervisors are less knowledgeable than I am. My team lead did not know what a prefix was while I was sharing animal facts, and I had to explain it to him while he acted as if he were the smartest person in the room. I also had to explain to my supervisor that I did not cause a significant issue with one of our parts, as it came that way. I work in manufacturing, and the hole in a vendor's part was too large. He tried to reprimand me until I proved that the holes were pre-cut. I dislike being referred to as a lowly builder, while my supervisors have no idea what is happening. Story 18. I was taken advantage of by one of my parents, who guilt-tripped me. "You are not blessed because you are not obedient to me. If you want God to bless you, you need to help your parents financially. Help your siblings, even if you end up with nothing." Story 19. I snapped and became a full-fledged villain after 4 years. I had a coworker who was so lazy and incompetent that I offered to absorb his role for half his salary. I got him fired the next quarter and ended up saving the company a significant amount of money, as we no longer had ongoing issues with our stock. I was able to complete all of his tasks about 90% faster than he did. The final straw was when he claimed he didn't know how to copy from one Excel spreadsheet to another after I had done 99% of the work, and all he had to do was copy it. Story 20. My roommate freaked out and got in my face because the previous night, he and a girl he had over were extremely intoxicated. She said she was going home, could hardly stand, and was going to walk 2 miles back to her apartment. I offered to drive her home, even though I have a girlfriend, and he thought I was trying to seduce her. I am 5 feet 10 inches tall, weigh 180 pounds, and work out regularly. To be humble, I was in great shape at the time. My roommate was about 5 feet 7 inches tall and probably weighed around 130 pounds. He was yelling at me, saying he didn't care that I was shaking, which I do in high adrenaline situations. I was fully prepared to confront him, but I took the high road and left. I moved out a few days later, as it was the last day of the semester. This incident was after many other problems I had with him. He is an absolute degenerate. I have trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for years, so I was confident I could handle him easily. Story 21. Upstairs, the neighbors are incredibly loud. I'm very lenient and avoid confrontation at all costs. I can tolerate a lot, but their noise has become unbearable. These upstairs neighbors sound like they move their kitchen table across the apartment every day. They wear shoes and heels, literally running and sprinting all the time. I often wonder why they are running. I bought sound pranks and placed them around their apartment. I also purchased a Bluetooth speaker and hid it. Whenever they were loud, I would play unsettling sounds to get their attention. Story 22. Domestic violence in the relationship prior to the one I'm in now contributed to my feelings. I became a part-time villain because I was angry for years and treated everyone poorly. I wanted revenge and was frustrated that I had to deal with flashbacks and intense emotions while they seemed unaffected. I carried that anger and resentment for too long, allowing it to fester. The tipping point came when I had to choose between succumbing to that negativity and darkness or healing. I experienced a major breakdown, which was also the first time I confronted my feelings. I acknowledged the trauma, verbalized it, and repeatedly told myself that I didn't need an apology to fully let it go. I spent about 1 to 1.5 years going through the post-traumatic stress disorder healing process. By then, it had been for almost 5 years since the domestic violence. I couldn't believe how much I had suppressed. Story 23. I developed a simple sinus infection that caused intense pain in every joint below my upper middle back, making it impossible for me to walk. My general doctor informed me that they could not provide any relief. It has been days of experiencing what feels like unbearable pain. Each day that I endure this, I feel increasingly frustrated with those in power. I realized that the last time I was free of pain was after undergoing invasive surgery while on strong pain medication. This realization hit me hard and made me rethink my quality of life. I have a specialist appointment, and I genuinely hope they can offer me something to manage this pain. Otherwise, I might be pushed to a breaking point. The level of hurt is truly beyond description, and unless you've experienced it, it's difficult to understand. I can be spiteful, but I would not wish this on anyone. Story 24. Always having to be the one who takes the high road and fix everyone else's mistakes. I was ready to go completely rogue and start sabotaging the business in very calculated ways. I had it all planned out with several escape routes and alibis. I don't know what made me stop. I'm glad I did. But something in me just switched off and I decided that isn't me. Story 25. My breakup a few months ago, and realizing that the people I thought would be there for me in my hardest times haven't really been there for me, is making me reconsider how I view the world and the people in it. Story 26. Bedtime with the kids and my wife is a routine. She's supportive, and I'm ready to tuck them in and wrap up the day. I do this almost every night. Otherwise, no one would go to bed. Story 27. I almost died because a petty and stingy person I called a friend is more concerned with their money, despite me doing my best to motivate him, help him, and pay attention to him. I'm usually okay with petty and stingy people, as my life has never been in danger before, but this particular case was just too much. Story 28. When I was being bullied by another nurse, I was close to sabotaging her. However, the slightest risk of harming a patient kept me from actually trying anything. In the end, she burned herself out, and I haven't seen her in years. People still comment on what a tremendous person she was. Story 29. I was a freshman taking advanced placement courses for the first time. That year, I took 5 advanced classes on top of 3 other honors courses and regular classes. The day after I finished all my exams, my dad gave me $30 as a reward for focusing on my studies over the past month. As a freshman, I decided to spend it all at Taco Bell and Chick-fil-A that day. I bought the food and left it in my locker, planning to share it with my friends during lunch as I usually do. However, when I returned to my locker after the first period, all my food was gone. It had been eaten by others in my grade, and I was very upset. Story 30. The only thing that stops me from becoming a full-blown villain is that I don't know the identity of the person who assaulted my girlfriend years ago. Story 31. I nearly embraced a villainous path when my startup was undermined by a dishonest investor. I spent a week imagining revenge before realizing that the best form of payback was to build something even greater without their involvement. Story 32. My friends make fun of me for my chronic migraines. At that time, I was experiencing multiple migraines a week, accompanied by vision loss, numbness, nausea, and many other symptoms. I lost over 20 pounds in a month and a half due to vomiting and loss of appetite, yet they still claim I was overreacting. Story 33. I wouldn't say I crashed out, but I made a conscious effort to be more assertive. I worked in an industry that was heavily customer-centric. I was talking to angry people all day and noticed that the assertive individuals seemed happier and achieved more at work with less hassle. I started putting more depth in my voice, speaking in a professionally bored tone, and interrupting people when they were getting off topic or rambling. I began dressing like a manager. After several months, I noticed there were significantly fewer people wasting my time. They wouldn't stop me when I was trying to take a break or eat my food. Even the customers became more concise with their questions. After a few more weeks of being treated like a manager, I decided to test how far I could go with it and began stepping off the floor to speak with managers in other departments to gather the information I needed. This realization helped me fast-track my upward mobility. I was able to achieve promotions that would have taken several years in just a few months. I learned that if you act like you belong and know what you are doing, people will automatically assume you do and treat you accordingly. It works even better if you sound significantly older than you actually are. It's like a presentation effect. The only downside was that after years of pretending to be assertive, I inadvertently became one. Story 34. I got as far as putting a shovel and tarp in the trunk. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. We did get to bury him in court, though, so there was some satisfaction. Story 35. I witnessed a teacher being extremely inappropriate with another student. The student confided in me that they were exchanging love letters. I tried to report the situation to the school, but I was shouted at for lying and trying to ruin the teacher's career. My classmates began calling me a liar, and I was bullied almost every day at school because of it. My best friend, who liked the teacher, turned against me as well. I changed schools, the teacher was caught, her parents were called in, and ultimately everyone agreed to let it go. The teacher did not get fired. She eventually transferred to another school after I moved away and later became the principal of an all-girls private school. Now, 30 years later, I had a knife pulled on me a few months ago by one of my ex-classmates who still believes I was the liar in that situation. I think the girl turned out okay in the end. Not a single person from that time has ever spoken to me since, except for the individual who threatened me. Story 36. Years ago, I had an amazing old dog and a terrible neighbor. The dog was an elderly female bull terrier I had in end-of-life foster care as she had been abused. That dog was wonderful, sweet, slow, and gentle with every other animal. She helped me care for and raise a litter of kittens found in a ditch. Her only flaw was that she was a bull terrier, which ignorant people associated with pit bulls. The neighbor was an evil, racist, alcoholic who loved nothing more than to terrorize the kids playing in the designated area in front of our building by yelling at them. She regularly went on racist rants so bad that even the Italian grandmother living 2 doors down once gave her a tongue lashing in public. Even that didn't stop her. One day, my sweet old pup woke up and couldn't stand. I called the veterinarian for a home visit, and it turned out she had some kind of internal hemorrhage and was fading fast. Nothing could be done. The veterinarian helped her cross the Rainbow Bridge peacefully and went to wait by her car. I wrapped my dear friend in a makeshift shroud, went outside to go to the car too, and stumbled upon the neighbor. She saw my tear-stained face and the body wrapped in my arms, and just grimaced the most evil grin I had ever seen before sneering. Hope it hurt when it finally croaked, glad to be rid of that disgusting, stinky beast. At that moment, I was so stunned I felt numb, but for weeks afterward, I was close to going full Negan on her. I dreamed of it. I wanted it so badly. Story 37. I worked with multiple coworkers, but I pivoted and became the little office gremlin who would occasionally act as a minor villain. Story 38. I was pushed to my limits when I was bullied for my sensory issues. I finally snapped at a bully after he harassed an old friend of mine, who I later learned had autism. The bully was about to play the race card, as I am a white Latina, but another black student put him in his place. We were ready to confront the bully but were talked out of it. Story 39. COVID lockdowns were significant. The fact that we were prohibited from walking in a forest while working indoors for 8 hours a day for economic reasons was troubling. I often envisioned going to a busy square and harming those around me. Fortunately, I live in a place where access to firearms is very difficult. Story 40. At worst, I would be an anti-hero. I would watch seemingly good people halt progress while bad people promote regression. Story 41. talking to my school counselor and realizing that my 10-year-old self shouldn't have been the family therapist and communicator. Story 42. Oh my God. I've had much worse happen to me, but something about this one situation. It was the day after my birthday. My brother, his wife at the time, my sister, and I went out to eat at a Chinese buffet. A really good one. I love Chinese buffets, and this one was amazing. The night before, she was craving Chinese food too, so she went to a local buffet with my brother, which was totally fine. The problem arose the next day when we were in the car. They were arguing relentlessly, and she started complaining that she didn't want Chinese food anymore. She knew very well that I loved that place and wanted to go. Right when we got to the restaurant, she complained again. My brother, who was driving, quickly swerved and said, "Forget it. Let's get Mexican." I was furious with both of them. I was giving her a fierce glare throughout the entire meal at the Mexican restaurant. It made things extremely awkward, and only then did she realize the mistake she had made. She apologized and paid for my meal too, which I appreciated because it was more expensive than the Chinese place. I didn't care. I continued glaring at them the whole time. They were going to feel my presence, and I was determined to make sure of it. My sister also bought me a margarita, so I relaxed a bit after finishing the drink, but I still held on to that resentment. They never pulled something like that with me again. Story 43. My best friends at work, 2 days after they came to my engagement, tried to undermine me after I received a promotion because they were jealous. I dislike IT professionals now and have no tolerance for their negativity when it becomes toxic. Story 44. Depends on what kind of villain it is. I once had a friend who turned out to be very touchy. I wanted to grab his hands and break his fingers the next time he touched me. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.